What if he doesn't exhibit narcissism towards the kids? Eventually he will. Maria, eventually it'll come out. It always does. I've never seen it not come out. Because they'll start to realize the lies. They'll start to realize like how he's treating. He's showing it to you, and vicariously he's showing it to the kids. Because how it's affecting you is also affecting the kids. It's all interconnected. It's all intertied together. Okay? How do you create space for someone to process their emotions? Okay, so a lot of times, especially when we're talking about kids, it's being able to take a step back and not just getting quick conformity. A lot of times we as parents want to get quick conformity to make sure that we look good in society. Okay? I'm not even talking toxic people. I'm just talking humans in general. Like who wants to be there and like the one mom, the one dad that has like the kid acting up in public, right? But actually being able to help them understand and process their feelings is huge because they might start to attribute the piece of guilt and shame and not know how to actually process it. So it's being able to hold space of saying, hey, like you can cry, you can get upset, and we can talk through this. But making sure they feel in this safe environment, because you have to remember the narcissist isn't going to actually provide this safe place. Exactly. Heal and work on yourself. A huge part of like respectful parenting or authoritative parenting is going through this idea of being like, you have to work on managing you. Like you have to work on managing your emotions so you can actually handle the emotions of another human. Emotions of your kids. Instead of just saying, no, don't do that. No, fit this way. Like a lot of times people get to the place where they're like, I'm not abusive, but they're still trying to get the kids just to conform. You see a lot of this aspect in different types of religion, a lot of times in Christianity, where it's like it's talking about like just conforming to a certain image, to a certain idea, versus actually helping the person grow and develop who they actually are, understanding like the why of this. If you're at this place where you're struggling with this, you're like, hey, I don't actually know what to be able to do, how to be able to move forward. Like we're actually talking about trying to put together some parallel parenting classes, some like different things to be able to help people understand. I was actually on a Zoom call earlier today with one guy who's actually developed and started a program for young men, ages like 13 to 21. And he's actually working specifically with young men that are stuck going through the whole process of their parents getting divorced. And they're left without a role model. And he's trying to figure out how do I actually help lead them in a direction that doesn't have them dependent on him, but actually has them dependent upon systems and frameworks of putting themselves as real men, of having to grow up, but in a healthy way. Because a lot of people do not have this. And he's developing this program. He's got like 10 guys that are in it right now. And he's just starting it. He's just launching it off. And it's a fantastic program because it helps people understand and actually see what the steps are to becoming a man and how to actually show up. Not show up in the toxic way. Not show up in the abusive way. My kids have started a timesheet and they're horrible to me now. It's like living with him again and I can't cope. Timeshare. Okay, sorry. Started timeshare and they're horrible to me now. It's like living with him again and I can't cope. So they started timeshare like they're interacting with him, or I got confused with the timeshare piece. How can I rescue kids from narcissistic father when I have to leave the house without my kids just to save myself from violence? So one of the aspects there would be going through and making sure if you're in a violent situation, that means your kids are in a violent situation, means we can see about getting either like a protective order or like going through this process so that you can get him kicked out of the house or get him arrested, okay? Independence from narcissists is best. Yes, 100%. We don't tell people to stay with a narcissist at all. Sometimes it's just the progression moving forward. Is it possible I need to seek for full custody? I would always go for full custody if you can. Like whatever you can do to go for full custody, I would always go for that. Okay? My ex-narcissist is emotionally unavailable to his kids. Yes, he is there with a new baby every year with different women. Yep. And that piece is just locking in other supply. But he doesn't actually care about the kids because he's not actually like holding space for them in that regard. I just called out my narcissist publicly. What can I expect? Probably backlash and probably turn you into the narcissist. Like they'll say you're the narcissist, probably start a smear campaign. They go to his place now every other weekend. It's nonstop chaos. Court is a joke. They do nothing. Yeah, a lot of it, like you have to... with the court piece, like I don't know your situation. There's a lot of different situations there. With going to his place every other weekend, like a lot of that is going to be difficult because you're going to have to work on your side that when they're with you, that you're able to engage the best as possible because he's not going to help them at all. And so there's going to be pieces that they might feel like it's great and they might come back and be abusive to you. Okay? And it's helping set healthy boundaries. Like that's the biggest thing is you have to do that for you. How do I get him to leave me alone? Protection order in place. He's married. What more? Protection order in place. So like, are you calling it in every time he violates it? Like, is he like moving forward with that? How did the judge believe me when I said he has a person on your door? He believed you? The court soon with mine, the smear campaign, and yes, he posts narcissist memes of things I said to him. Yeah, 100%. They'll turn it back around on you. Solomith, first video yesterday. Oh, awesome. Kelly, glad to have you a part of the community. How do you handle agreement with a narcissist without looking crazy? What are you talking about? Like custody agreement? Like if it's set in the court response? Like if it's set in like in the court system, you go off of that like it's Bible. Like you don't move from it at all. How do you handle an argument with an how do you handle an argument with a narcissist without looking crazy? It's sticking to your boundaries and it's sticking to consistency. Like it's not bringing it like don't follow all the rabbit trails. Stick with like no, like this is the facts. This is what you did. Like, this is the answer. Like, this is what I need you to do. This is how I need you to show up. Narcissists will try to get you confused with word salad. They'll try to get you running around all over the place to defend yourself instead of actually dealing with the actual problem. Okay? Like, they'll go all over the place. Yeah, worried about court. I was in a narcissistic relationship and you helped me more than you ever know. Thank you. Oh, awesome. I'm super glad to be able to hear that. I don't want him allowed alone with my baby, mainly his long criminal record and history, but also abusive. So, yeah, I would definitely, that would be a piece to be talking to your attorney, talking to your divorce lawyer, like going through that process so that doesn't happen. Okay? But you have to be able to get to the place that you have that in writing, that it's all in the court agreement, like all that kind of stuff. You cannot put too much in the court agreements. I watched some of your videos yesterday and I've come to realize that I've spent the last 24 years with one. Kelly, totally get that. There's a lot of people like waking up and coming to awareness about this. If you want to reach out, you can go to www.rawmotivations.com, grab a one-on-one. We can talk. We can kind of dive into your situation and try to be able to help you move forward. Yeah, no, you're absolutely welcome. Okay? Like this piece of like one specific piece I want to touch on really quick is like the kids that get lost in the divorce. The kids that get lost in this process. I can't speak to this to the full level and the full depth, which is why I'm starting to partner with another guy who's actually, he grew up going through 2 different divorces and he's actually helping young men now be able to navigate that and be able to step up as actual men versus like not having any role models. He's building a program he's already started with. He's got 10 guys into his program right now. He's working on building it up even more. But I'm actually working with him a little bit and thinking about partnering with him to help in the co-parenting aspect, but also in the aspect of like there's a lot of young men that don't actually have role models. Because it hasn't been shown, it hasn't been stated by the toxic person that was in your life that walked out. Okay? That's a huge part that we're trying to be able to work on and develop because there's not a lot of help out there. If you're interested in anything about that, as far as like that program, message me, okay?